Remember the future. I can do anything I want. It hurts.
What happens when you try to be too cool and try to one-up one of the greatest movies of all time? The director's cut, which honestly is the only thing I've ever actually liked by this director. You get this terrible travesty. This movie is complicated, and it doesn't need to be. And this is going to be a very long video from now. I'm just going to have to rant about it. I've also made a very complex chart, which I will explain. You know, I apologize for not being consistent, but there's one thing I'll never apologize for is not being consistent.
Sometimes I doubt your commitment to sparkle motion.
Wait a minute.
Have you ever seen a portal?
Anus.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Avocast Studios. I'm your host, Sir Stormchild. Don't think about that too hard. It'll just confuse you. So, if you know me, I really like Donnie Darko. It's one of the best movies I've ever seen. I originally saw it when I was a teenager, when it first came out on satellite, and I was just like, what the hell is this movie? I've never seen anything like it before, and it had such great music, and then like the director's cut came out, and it just fucking ruined it.
How much are they paying you to be here? Excuse me?
I totally understand why it got changed, but the fact that it got changed, it added in more backstory on like what the philosophy of time travel is, and honestly it took away from the actual meaning of the story. Several years later, 7 to be exact, somebody decided, well, we're going to capitalize on that. The original director, Richard Kelly, had nothing to do with this movie whatsoever except for the characters. So I guess part 1 of an overcomplicated explanation of this whole movie. Why do I not like it? Well, to start with that, I'm going to have to show you a chart that's not going to make any sense until much later. Here we go with the chart. This is Donnie Darko at the top. The original timeline only had one loop, and it had mystery to it.
Have you ever seen a portal?
Anus.
It had 28 days, 6 hours, 42 minutes, and 12 seconds. It happened in 1988. The thing that happens in the movie, there's a plane engine that comes off and then crashes into his bedroom. And then the movie, it's not just a timeline thing. It's a tangential universe, which honestly kind of makes it sound fucking stupid.
The basic principles of time travel are there.
Because, you know, whatever you do in the tangent universe, I guess kind of ripples throughout the other one, because like the tangential universe is like a bubble universe that can't sustain itself.
You got your vessel and your portal, and your vessel can be just about anything, most likely a spacecraft.
Even though like everything that's going on there is still going to happen, but it's still parallel reality, so what really happens there doesn't technically matter, I guess.
She wrote this book. Roberta Sparrow.
Yeah, again, it's overly complicated for just one little loop. You see how complicated it gets in the sequel. So, S. Darko. It starts with a text crawl, you know, because that's how you start a good movie, you know, with a fucking text crawl. Not like, don't open up with a scene, don't use like some narration. I mean, the original one didn't do that either. The original one started with like him like riding his bike. I think he woke up. He rides his bike, and then Echo and the Bunnymen play. It begins in 1995 with his younger sister Sam, who, by the way, if you understand like the philosophy of time travel, she's the manipulated dead. There's the manipulated dead, the manipulated living, and the traveler, aka the living receiver, and the artifact, which is the time traveling thing that sends the living receiver back.
The basic principles of time travel are there.
You barely know the fucking guy who actually is the living receiver. It's really annoying.
I'm a good soldier.
She runs away from home. She has constant insomnia. She can't really sleep. Well, if she does, she doesn't dream, and she sleepwalks just like her brother. It starts off in Utah for some reason. Again, it only takes 4 days instead of an entire month, so you really get to know the characters very vaguely. They're basically going across to California. Her friend Corey, she's like, "Oh, my dad will set us up in California. He'll like help us work out at this club, and things will be cool. And don't worry about it. I got you." You know, wakes up in the middle of nowhere, wanders over, wakes her friend up, like bashing on the window. And then they're like, well, 2 more pills left, 2 more nights left, or whatever.
Only 2 more good mornings.
You don't really know what the pills are. They could be X, they could be masculine. You have no idea.
Only 1 more day.
They drive while a montage plays. Basically, this fucking movie is mostly montage. If you watch the original movie, yeah, there's a lot of montages, but these like make less sense. She hallucinates a unicorn in the clouds. That'll come back in one specific scene later. She loses the pinwheel. It gets run over. Symbolism. Then their car breaks down, it overheats, and they have no fucking plan on how to do anything.
Doesn't look too good.
Well, now what?
We wait
For?
anything.
Sam starts wandering around a pond, and she sees somebody, this soldier, walking up to a windmill and climbing up on top of it and sitting there. He's the Donnie analog, essentially. On rewatch, the edit of Sam being shown walking around the pond and then showing the soldier, you would think would be around the pond, but it's nowhere near each other in relation. So it just seems disjointed, and it implies a relationship that hasn't been set up yet. Sam just lies in the street for some fucking reason. And then the cool guy rides up in a sports car, being basically like 1990s version of James Dean.
Friend okay?
She's dead.
Roadkill.
He's got a cigarette pack rolled up in his sleeve for some reason. Like, who the fuck did that? Like, you're not a goddamn greaser. I mean, it's possible. He does work at a motor shop. Well, at the tow company. And then it's Frank Echo's Auto Service.
A couple of hundred, maybe more.
Or if you watch the movie, a lot of the gripes I have with the movie are, it's like Juno, where it tries to like be way too cool for itself, trying to be edgy, trying to be cool, but also nonchalant at the same time.
So you want me to take a look?
Where?
Well, I can give you a ride. That'd be cool. They're like, thanks. That'd be great.
Under the hood.
Sure.
What's wrong with your friend? Oh, she's dead. I'm like, oh, great. More foreshadowing.
She's dead.
Roadkill.
Anus!
He takes it to this motel.
Can't you even pretend to be happy?
The guy's kind of weird behind the motel, but he's a nice guy, and like he's like, well, I'll hook you guys up.
What can I do you for?
We need a room.
Only got one that's finished. How many you staying?
Forever, we hope.
She goes over this kidnapped kids posters that are on the wall. You know, he's like, well, there's somebody, they've been going missing basically in the town. It's more than one kid have been missing in the same town.
What happened to that little boy?
He went missing. Not the first around here, neither.
Everybody blames the homeless guy, the soldier that we saw who climbed the windmill.
It hurts.
Also known in the story for some reason, Iraq Jack. Basically, he was in the Gulf War, and he's been like a little fucked up from it.
They made me do it.
Who?
The leaders.
Right.
Instead of like getting him help or like PTSD, they just blame him for all their fucking problems.
No, there's a pervert loose in town. Goes by Iraq Jack.
Anything that goes wrong is like, oh, that damn Jack, he did it.
She saved me.
Who?
The princess.
Right.
Maybe he did, maybe he didn't, but like, I don't think he's kidnapping kids. By the way, he's not fucking kidnapping kids because there's very clear evidence of who is actually doing it.
Well, don't worry about us. We're little angels.
And then 11 minutes into the movie, we finally get our first timestamp, which is June 29th, 1995. The timelines don't add up. I mean, they kind of do, but like, that's the least of my worries in this stupid movie. Sam, who's trying to sleep, but she can't, and then walks up to this TV. It's playing like a George Foreman commercial, and then she reaches her hand into it like it's a Videodrome, pulls out a blue feather, a peacock feather. This feather keeps showing the fuck up. I cannot explain the damn feather. It makes no sense. And then it cuts to the outside and a flash of a clearly dead version of Sam wearing a different dress, and it's sliced together with somebody in a bunny mask, which is like a different bunny mask from the original movie. So there we already have like the absolute clue of like who the hell is who is, you know, the dead person there. Although you could, if you've never seen the movie, be like, oh, it's a ghost story or something. But then it cuts to the soldier. I personally think they should have shown the soldier first and then shown the flash of dead Sam. That way you can get kind of a weird, you know, like more of a transitional relationship between the two. Because it looks like just Sam walks out and becomes a ghost for some reason. And then it shows some guy on a fucking windmill. And then she like flash jumps up there next to him. He's like, hey, you got like, I meant she, 4 days left to live. And then he looks up and there's a fucking meteor about to come down. And then like a portal opens up and then they both jump down it and like ride through like fucking sliders.
Follow me.
When it cuts to the next day, sometimes when I say cut, I mean simply transition to. It shows where the meteor strike happened, right at the windmill. Basically, like the three other characters, there's the creepy cop.
Can't be dressing like that.
Frank, the guy who runs the tow truck company.
You want me to charge you for that tow? No problem.
And the motel guy, because it's like right next to it.
How many you staying?
Sam wakes up on a park bench. That's where you meet the creepy cop. I forgot. He's just like, oh, you can't wear that around here. Not with Iraq Jack going around. You know, he'll do things. You know, you wearing like that is kind of asking for it. That's basically how it comes off.
No, there's a pervert loose in town.
Then she meets back up with Corey at the motel, who's standing there with Randy, Mr. Cool.
What is all this stuff?
Big ol' horse shit from the sky, if you ask me.
Cuts to Trudy in the diner, played by Elizabeth Berkley. She looks up and is like, oh, these missing kids. Oh, praise Jesus. You'll come to find out as I'm talking about this movie, I hate this woman.
If I go missing, will you make sure I have the cot in my poster?
Deal.
I just have in my notes she did it. She's a hypocrite. Either way.
Jesus loves you, Agatha.
Have a good one.
Everybody hates Iraq Jack. There's more stuff about that.
Acropolis and Universe Justice or something.
He'd be hanging by a noose right now.
He's outside, like scrounging around for parts and shit. You have no idea what he is. He locks eyes with Sam for a second. It comes to find out like later on that he actually knows who she is, kind of. He's been like seeing her, like obviously he saw the dead version of her, so he sees her in real life. He's like, oh, her. And you're like, okay, well.
She can do anything. She can even save Billy.
That takes the fucking mystery out of it. You already, like, you know who each other are. Like, she doesn't.
He should have died up in that windmill.
There's a nerdy guy at the diner who he's just like, hey, you know, that meteor, I paid like $600 for the thing. You guys want to like, you know, like see it? That'd be kind of cool.
I just made a deal to buy it for $600. If I had to guess, I'd say it's a siderite. They're mostly composed of iron and nickel.
And then Corey, who's a bitch the entire movie. I mean, that's not like, you know, like saying like, oh, she's like, no, just she is just an absolutely terrible human being the entire movie. She's bad to her friend. She's mean to everybody. And I don't see why she's like friends with Sam like at all.
What do you think God's fart stays like?
Marshmallow peeps.
Although she's not without her bouts of clarity and compassion.
I'm Jeremy.
Are you a gay?
He's like, no, I was just trying to be nice about it.
What?
Isn't Jeremy a gay name? I was thinking we chop off his balls and stone him.
And then she gets snooty and like walks off because Corey is trying to like do this like dine and dash thing too at the same time.
Okay, as soon as she walks to the kitchen, run for it.
And Sam's like, oh yeah, sure. Takes out her money, puts it away, or, you know, pays for it, and then leaves. Then we cut to this preacher doing some gardening next to a metal monk statue for some reason. We never get any explanation about why the hell that's happening.
Ego's new in town?
Corey and Sam are walking around with lollipops in their mouth.
You ever tag team a 40-year-old?
And then she starts saying horrible fucking things to the preacher.
What's it like to never be able to have sex?
Excuse me?
Have blue balls all the time, or just have to spank it constantly?
He's a preacher, not a priest. That's two different things.
Used to be just like you.
Oh, you had a training bra? Blow me.
Besides, it's clear that he's dating the Trudy character.
It's from John. He knows I love Jesus the most.
Then after that, it cuts to Iraq Jack being scrounging around for more parts. You're like, well, what the hell is he building? Like, what is he putting together? And you're like, well, wait a minute. Maybe he's making like the bunny mask. Like, what is that going to look like? How's that going to play into the movie?
It hurts.
Randy is like looking for their water pump for the girl's car. Iraq Jack just starts freaking out. He's like, I didn't want to kill those kids, man. They were just lying in the street. I didn't want to. They made me, man.
I killed babies. Brains spilling out of their heads like macaroni. Just lying in the road.
You know, like talking about like his PTSD, basically blaming himself for everything that happened in the war and the Gulf War. And
They made me do it.
Right. You know, if you didn't dress and talk like that, man, people wouldn't be so freaked out.
we're at a keg party now. I don't remember when that happened. Again, it's another montage where like people like there's a couple of kids in the back. They're huffing paint. They show up again, but they never have any names. They don't like do anything. Well, they smack like the glasses off like the nerdy kid when he shows up.
Oops. Sorry, man.
Because he's like, hey Sam, like I paid for your breakfast like, I know you guys are in town. You probably don't have any money or whatever. He's trying to be the good guy. R/nice guys, by the way, it turns out to be. But it doesn't intentionally turn out to, like, start that way. He's just like, I just want to be nice about it.
I wanted to buy your lunch.
That's sweet.
It's clearly he used that as an excuse to hook up with her, or try to hook up with her, which, I can understand. And as he, like, they're talking, like, there's some fireworks that go off in behind him, and like, okay. Another bit of symbolism that of sparks and shit. And then pushed into a fucking pool by her friend, who's up there like smoking weed and like, like being, their horrible self.
Are you okay? Don't be so annoying.
When Sam slams into the water, she just kind of lays there, and then like there's a glowy outline of her for some reason, and then like everybody else starts cannonballing in it, and she gets out of the pool. Randy's like, hey, here's a towel. They're in like the living room. He's like, oh, my brother got kidnapped.
This your brother?
He's dead, probably.
Or he's missing. All he knows is it's missing. I know the kid's been kidnapped.
He just disappeared.
And then once that happened, like his mom bailed. His dad hasn't been home for a while. He's clearly like acting out.
What about your mom?
She bailed. She's kind of a bitch anyway.
He's like, hey, you want to see his room? You can. That's something, you'd be willing to do.
Don't touch anything. My dad'll freak.
I guess it shows sympathy or something, because they have like, like his room is exactly how he left it, and they got like, plastic on the sheets and shit.
So what's it like in
Virginia.
And she also says stuff about like her older sister being married and then not seeing anybody. She doesn't mention Donnie whatsoever. He's just like, well, where are you guys going? Like, what's your whole plan? Like, once you get out to California?
Don't you think we should, like, call your dad and tell him that we're coming? He still owns the club, all right? He's gonna get us both jobs. His daughter, for Christ's sake.
And Sam's like, well, it's, about this club, and, we're going out there, and, her dad will find us, something to do.
So what about this club?
Corey thinks we can work there?
Dancing.
I guess.
And he makes that offhand remark. He's like, oh, I'll give him freebies along the way, right?
She giving out a few freebies along the way.
And she's just like, oh, that's my friend. And she gets mad and walks away, which, granted, that's a fair assessment. He feels bad about it.
Where's the bathroom?
Well, this place is giving me the creeps.
I didn't mean it like that.
He's the only character in this movie that I actively gave a shit about. Like, you start not to, because he's like, oh, you're just like the, hackney fucking James Dean character. But he's the only one that, like, truly emotes in this movie and does fucking well, in my opinion. So she goes out, sits out on the front porch. That blue fucking peacock feather comes down from the heavens from somewhere, literally slams into the concrete and then, like, shatters it. Again, I don't know what the hell this feather is about because it never gets explained. Then it cuts to Iraq Jack and chest tendril coming out, the abyss arms or whatever. If you ever saw the abyss, it's kind of like that when like the water creature comes out.
Done a lot of bad things. I like it here.
The beginning of the end.
Then he goes and burns down a church. A lot of this movie is basically retreading the same fucking things that happened in the first movie. And not very well, I might add. Then it flashes, doo-doo-doom, 3 days left. And the motel owner's like, hey, I want my rent. Sam hasn't walked off at this point.
Oh, maybe you should go for the weekly rate. Save yourself some money.
Cuts to the preacher.
This church was made of brick.
And they're like the cop talking to each other. The preacher's blaming like the evil forces that are in the town.
I'm saying there are forces at work here. Something evil.
Here we go.
He finds Iraq Jack's ID tag, which is not burnt whatsoever. The whole fucking church is like lit up on fire. There's like hot enough to like twist metal and shit. His ID tags are perfectly fine and legible.
This town will crucify him.
And then you get to actually see his name, and it's Justin Sparrow. If you saw the first movie, Sparrow is Roberta Sparrow from the first movie, who also wrote the philosophy of time travel.
Up and left the church, she wrote this book, Roberta Sparrow.
And then Trudy, it cuts to her crying, and I think it's the post office for some reason. It was the bank. And she's just like, oh, the damn church.
Mount Calvary burned to the ground last night.
It's on fire. Those damn kids.
I already know it's arson.
And their anal sex. And their drugs.
Colejo Springs used to be a decent place. Then came the drugs and anus sex.
Anus!
Basically, the whole Trudy character sees herself as holier than thou, like absolutely. She literally makes the sentence of, we need to get to the kids before they spoil.
We need to get to the children. before they spoil.
And then she drops a bracelet, which is a what would Jesus do bracelet, when it has a key on it. That slips off her hand, and then it falls down, clang, clang, clang. Remember that for later.
Oh, my bracelet. It's from John.
Then Jeremy shows up again. He talks to Sam. It's kind of inconsequential.
Pastor John is a great guy. He went to prison. He reinvented himself.
But you can see that like he's got like this like burn mark or whatever is happening to him because he owns the meteorite. He's dying of like radiation poisoning, or was that whatever is in there is happening to him, I should say. Justin Sparrow's making the mask, whatever you want to call him.
It hurts.
Randy and Corey they're driving around. Randy's drinking and driving because that's fun to do. It's not, by the way.
Want a beer?
No?
There's like 3 other people in the back.
Booyah.
Do you have something better to do?
And Sam is walking down the street. She's kind of, wandering around. Basically, Sam was like, what the hell are we going to do? Like, I kind of want to leave, but like,
I want to get out of this place.
I don't really know what to do. Sam and Corey have an argument, and
Maybe I do have better things to do.
Corey's very defiant. She's like,
What, like try to off yourself again?
yeah, whatever.
You can sleepwalk back to Virginia for all I care.
Then she has this vision of just this fucking dead kid in the middle of the day. She says something to Randy.
Pretty harsh words.
Says the small town drunk.
That pisses him off. He kicks her out of the car.
Get out.
Fuck out.
Sam is up there by the intersection. There's another car that comes out of fucking nowhere, T-bones the fuck out of him, and kills Sam, possibly the other 3 in the car. I have no idea because they're never mentioned again. Randy climbs out the car and he's all fucked up and she's straight up dead. It's 40 minutes into the fucking movie, nearly an hour. She hadn't put on a dress, she hadn't done anything else. Corey is at the police station, giving her testimony.
You and I both know Randy's been drinking.
And she's like, well, no, he wasn't drinking.
We also know that he's not at fault here.
Driving around, this car came out of nowhere and like just smashed into us. We don't know what the hell happened.
How do you explain the car that came out of nowhere?
Shit happens.
And then Corey goes and starts drinking. And she opens up Sam's stuff and, gets out like a dress or whatever. And then she finds the philosophy of time travel, and it has a story in it written by like basically her younger self about a unicorn, and she's Sam is a princess, or she is a unicorn or some bullshit, and she has this friend who is the only person I could see her named Justin, and you're like, oh, that kind of ties in. Interesting.
There once was a unicorn named Ariel.
Also, there's the Frank mask drawn into the book. Number 1, how the fuck did she get that book? That was Professor Monahan's book. She's never met Roberta Sparrow.
Dad!
How old is Grandma Death? 101.
Why would she? It makes no sense. Like, there's no reason for her to ever have that book. Sure, she could go to high school and, like, I guess Monotov could give her the book, but she would have to have those other dreams that, like, she wouldn't have the god tendrils at all coming out of her. She would be the manipulated dead because she's not the fucking traveler or the living receiver, so she wouldn't even have that idea.
The basic principles of time travel are there.
Cutting back to the original fucking Donnie Darko, it ends with, like, Donnie Darko writing to Roberta Sparrow a letter before he time travels, which doesn't make any sense because he's time traveling. Thank you. We get to hear the letter she's never going to get. She's just going to be a sad woman, like, keeps going to her fucking mailbox thinking somebody's going to write her a letter.
Oh, no dice, Grandma. Someone ought to write that bitch.
I mean, in the course of a movie, that makes a lot of sense. And then, dun-dun, the 2nd of July. And she wakes up, she sees this dead kid again.
You shouldn't be here.
For some reason, he's near a drink machine. She kind of zombifies, but like she's actually sees the tendrils coming out, and she's getting led around by those. The dead kid is the manipulated dead.
I just want Sam back.
You don't have much time.
Then it gets to Randy at work. He's absolutely fucking depressed. I mean, he killed like this one girl's like best friend. Clearly doesn't want anything bad to happen to anybody. Like throughout the whole entire movie, he's like the most solid character. She shows up, and then they have a weird bike ride where she's on the front of the bike.
I saw him at the car accident, at the motel. I don't remember. It's like I was tripping or something.
Randy decides to tell the story about him doing acid.
Got this acid one time.
Most of, like dreams and like doing acid, like you gotta like figure out what's real and what's reality and some fucking nonsense.
The whole time my esophagus was twisting and turning in my throat. So that means you gotta figure out what's real and what's not.
They go to the library to go through like microfiche of like newspapers, but you don't know what microfiche is. Good for you.
That was Sam's brother. She didn't mention him to me.
Why would she?
For some reason, it's just a bunch of random dead kids. I don't know why. It doesn't connect with anything in the movie. But then she tells them about Donnie and like, oh, her parents didn't love her enough, which again doesn't make any fucking sense.
They treated her like she wasn't enough for them to love.
Because in the first movie, they would have like doted on that damn kid hardcore. They would have like protected her more. Obviously, you can't plan for a fucking like plane to like come crashing into your goddamn like house. You know, like that's a freak event.
She told me she thought her brother was the lucky one.
Like he had the easy way out.
But Donnie, like, you know, he sacrifices himself that he thinks that like that will fix time, even though maybe it will, maybe it won't. But like that's genuinely what he thinks and what he sees. Kinda. At the end of the movie, there's a little bit of speculation at the end, which is like what I appreciate the movie for. Dun dun dun. 1 day left. She follows the chest thing out to this abandoned mine tunnel.
Here it comes. This is your last chance.
He says, don't forget to bring your water.
Bring your water.
And then she just drops the water and it's never talked about again. Okay, like the kid treats the chest tunnels as like an entity. I'm like, no, you know, he's like, well, like she tries to like fight it, like maybe I don't want to go into this mining tunnel. Maybe, you know, I'll do something else.
They won't let you do whatever you want.
And it like breaks off or whatever, and it like loops around like it has its own identity or whatever. I'm like, no, it's not an entity. It's literally like a manifestation of fate going forward.
Well, if God controls time, then all time's pre-decided.
You know, like what you could see as your path. It's literally your fucking path.
If we were able to see our destinies manifest themselves visually,
especially because it becomes God's channel, according to the rules of the first movie,
we would be given a choice to betray our chosen destiny.
Not if you travel within God's channel.
Guess what? Time resets. It backs up to where the car that like showed up that blindsided him at the first part when Sam died, and the car was being towed by Frank. Hit a bump or whatever, like the chains popped off on it, and then it gets sucked into a sky portal for some fucking reason. And then it just waits until they get to the intersection, I suppose. Now, when you travel through time, or you're the living receiver, you actually remember what has happened. The manipulated dead has no fucking memory of anything whatsoever what's going on.
When the manipulated awaken, they are often haunted.
The living have an inkling of what happened. They remember like most of like what happened during that course, if they are one of the ones that's being manipulated in order to further the loop agenda.
Going nowhere.
But the living receiver actively remembers what's going on. So when they reset, Corey is like, oh, I can't keep doing this. She tells him about her father. He's like, I've never met the guy. I don't know who he is. He doesn't know who we are. We're driving for no reason.
My dad doesn't even really know that I exist.
I'm sorry. I can't keep up with this lie. I apologize.
What now?
A couple of tramp stamps. Or you can go and do something totally fucking amazing.
And then she like stays in the car and looks out at her friend as they're driving away.
I've got my own plans.
Fucking T-boned again, blindsided, and Sam has to sit there and watch her friend die. So you save your friend just to hurt your friend by dying in front of her, but kind of different. It's so fucking irritating. Cuts to Sam in her hotel room with like the wave coming out of her head. Every time they show like the wall thing, the boom, 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 and like from the first movie or whatever.
I can do anything I want.
Watery, rainbow kind of look. She does this montage thing where she reads the time travel book. There's a photo in it of her and Corey. Instead of like reading the story, cut to Iraq Jack, who's now wearing the mask of the bunny rabbit ears.
Why did you show me this? It hurts.
You will.
And every time he pulls it on, it hurts him because he's a fucking idiot and it doesn't make the fucking mask right to like actually fit him. So it's like, it's causing him active pain.
It hurts.
But he also like thinks that like he needs to be vindicated or something, like whip himself, like flagellation, I suppose. Dead Sam says, hey, you got to get to higher ground.
You need to get to higher ground.
Back to the second again. Sam wakes up under a bridge. She walks down the main street. She sees this beautiful dress in the window. It looks like it's very mermaidy, whereas like it's a bunch of like scaly kind of like this look to it. But you're like, oh my god, that's the one we've been seeing her in the flashbacks. Like every time we see Dead Sam, we see her in that dress. And Jeremy walks out because of the dress shop, because that's where his parents work. Sure. I don't think he's like wearing his glasses anymore. He's got this giant hole in his arm now. It's really gross and bleeding.
It's just a rash.
He's like, oh, like the meteorite, it's got like another element that's never been seen before. I'm gonna call it framium or whatever the hell his name is. She tries to like walk away. Randy shows up. He's like, I'm so sorry. I got your friend killed.
Is there anything I can do?
She's like, well, either buy me that dress.
Buy me that dress.
Or bring me back my friend. Oh, you can't do either one? I'm going away now. So he just walks away.
You can't bring back my friend either, can you?
Oh.
For some reason, Jeremy just fucking outright headbutts fucking Randy. What the fuck?
Get lost.
You fucking kidding me?
Yeah, I'm the cool guy now. Everybody's gonna love me. I'm like, no, dude, you're going down the wrong way, man. You're becoming a dick. And you're like, okay, maybe it's like, like the power of the meteorite kind of getting to his head, or like him just like finally being kind of respected, I guess. Sam goes to the burnt out church. For some reason, sits down on the gross burnt out ass fucking benches.
Returning your book.
Instead of like having an actual like Bible in the movie, they have a book that the preacher wrote called Jesusonomy. I think it's the preacher wrote it. He's like, yeah, I could teach you about Jesus. That'd be great.
Do you want to talk?
Want to go to a movie theater? Again, there's a theater for some reason now in this movie.
Have you ever seen a portal?
Anus!
And the preacher, they're sitting up at the front row, and he's like, sometimes I like to come here and look at the blank screen and try to envision what God's plan has in front of me.
Stare up at that screen and wait for God to show me his plan for my life.
Same.
I see a light.
And then she's like, well, what do you see? He sees himself in like the rain and like God's light shining down upon him in like the burnt out church or whatever. That's not fucking weird.
A divine guiding light.
He's like, well, what do you see? And she sees her in sparkle motion. Obviously, she says like, well, I see my childhood.
My childhood?
Oh, you can't go back.
I thought it was my turn.
He's like, no, you can't. You have to let go of the past. And she's like, well, did you let go of your past?
If you want to be born again, you have to forget the past.
Is that why you became like a preacher after you got out of prison? The preacher was in prison. We don't know why. He dedicated his life to Christ, which fine. Okay. That's fine.
Is that why you found God? To save yourself?
Everything in the universe is God's will.
Trudy shows up in the theater in the back. Then neither one of them look around.
I have something for you.
As the preacher gives Sam a blue bracelet with what would Jesus do on it.
A bracelet. WW.
And then starts grabbing her leg aggressively. And it's weird.
You don't know how special you are, do you? See, I thought you were gonna trust me.
No, like we're just talking, and whatever he's saying, Sam is having none of it because she's just like, no, dude, no,
No, I changed my mind.
This is getting weird, but I don't know what he was expecting to begin with. He's clearly just a pervert, and I don't like this man. God can change his mind too, and pulls her leg out, like wider. This is fucking uncomfortable. I don't like this.
Do you know that God can change his mind too?
And at this point, Trudy has already left the theater. It cuts to like, them walking out and him like walking in. He's like, oh shit, no, we were just talking. We didn't do anything. I think I know what you were in prison for. You freak.
Sam. We were supposed to raise money for the church today. That was our plan.
We were just talking.
And she's clearly been crying again. And Sam's like, no, yeah, like, we were just talking. Just takes off the fucking bracelet, throws it at him.
Think sinners can repent, right?
Trudy, nothing happened.
I believe you. She made you do it.
Trudy says, as they're walking away, Trudy's like, hey, I'm missing my bracelet. Have you seen it? Clue.
John, my bracelet's missing.
And as we zoom out from the theater itself, the signs on it are for some reason backwards. Like the now showing is forwards, but like the rest of it is kind of backwards. I don't know what that's supposed to symbolize. But who the hell cares, because now it's Iraq Jack wearing the mask. It shows Sam reading the time travel book as she falls asleep. It says on like the marquee in a weird flash that get the keys to save the world.
Time to die.
And then dun dun dun, 7/3/95, 11 hours left. Sam wakes up outside of Iraq Jack's crap, like up on like the big hill that he lives on. For some reason, near a big tree. She's got the time travel book in her palm, like, you know, like she's passed out there. He kind of takes it. She wakes up.
Give it back to me. Why are you looking at me funny?
Why are you looking funny?
Like, I've been waiting for you, and some other crazy shit. It was like, I don't know you, dude. Like, but you know my grandma.
Grandma told me you would come.
I don't know your grandma.
And you're like, oh, Roberta Sparrow's your grandma. I didn't get that from the context clues.
Roberta Sparrow. Someone ought to write that bitch.
He shows her the mask itself, like the mask.
What's that?
Your dream face. Donnie liked to draw.
And, you know, in normal fashion, he puts the mask on, which is freaky looking. It has like a Jesus barbed wire around it.
How'd you know his name?
You told me.
When?
When you were dead.
And so she fucking runs away from this crazy motherfucker and like just like, no, I'm getting the fuck out of here. God damn it. This guy is nuts because he clearly is like insane. Teach me how to do it. Teach me. Teach me. I made this for you.
I remember the future.
And she goes down into the ravine, which where he is overlooking like where the mine shaft is, or where the abandoned mine shaft is, with like this with the overturned mine carts and whatnot. And she finds the key. Or the purple, she finds the key on the purple, what would you Jesus do bracelet, and opens the mine and finds the fucking dead kids. She finds the one we've been seeing in the movie and Randy's fucking brother, who we assume is probably Randy's brother. I don't know. He's very desiccated. And then it cuts to the diner where we've been seeing everybody at. They're like, oh, yay, yay. You did something good.
Burger, fries, Pepsi, no tomato on the burger.
But everybody still blames Iraq Jack, even though like she clearly says, no, it was Trudy. She did it. They're like, no, you crazy woman. It was clearly the homeless man doing this.
And don't you worry, they'll find him. They always do.
Who?
Iraq Jack.
No. Like, why don't you fucking listen to me?
He didn't do it.
Doesn't matter anymore.
To be fair, the part where she tells the police about her is completely omitted from the movie.
I saw my brother's bones.
Randy apologizes again.
If you went up to that mine a day earlier, you might have found Billy Moorcroft still alive.
Sam mentions Donnie.
My brother died too. I was 10. Nothing's ever been the same.
Iraq Jack literally shows up at the diner. Teach me how you do it. How do I do it?
Show me how.
The cop walks in behind him, like kicks him in the back, knocks him to the ground. They arrest him.
I'll show you how.
No!
And he starts screaming. You have like 3 hours, 41 minutes, and 35 seconds left as they're dragging him away.
That's when the rule will end.
Again, she tells the police, no, he didn't do it. He's not the guy. He's not the one who kidnapped those kids. It's not him. I know he rants about dead kids, but it's completely different.
He didn't do it. I told you everything.
I spoke with Trudy myself.
It's hers.
And then Trudy shows up and then slaps the shit out of her. How dare you? He goes, no, this is my bracelet.
How dare you accuse me?
This is mine. It's clearly the fucking blue one that she had before like the fucking priest felt her up, and then leaves.
This is my bracelet.
Sam walks to the motel. For some reason, there's a nice dress that's on her bed that somehow somebody got into her motel room and then put it there. That's not creepy. And then Jeremy shows up around the corner and I'm like, it's still creepy. Got it. He's getting even worse. He's like, well, why don't we go like see this fireworks show? It's not even the 4th yet. Like, why are we going to see fireworks yet? Granted, you can set fireworks any time of day. Like, you know, like I love looking at fireworks. It's awesome.
That's just the beginning. I want you to come watch the fireworks with me tonight.
I really don't know if I'm up for it.
You shouldn't be alone.
They drive to basically the middle of fucking nowhere to have a picnic at night.
Why are we up here?
This is the best spot.
Sam definitely wants to leave. He's like, no. You just come over here and this is where we're going to, like, this would be like the perfect place. And she notices the tree that she saw earlier, which was where Iraq Jack's stuff was.
I don't want to be up here.
You look beautiful.
And like, you know, down below is where the fucking kids are. Why wouldn't they have that roped off or something? I have no idea. And clearly not all evidence was collected, even though it's basically in plain sight. You'll notice what I'm talking about in 2 seconds. Okay, maybe a little longer.
It'll be awesome. You'll see. Just forget about everything. For 1 second. Clear your mind.
He gets up and he's like, man, like when are these like fireworks gonna happen? Like, there's stupid duds that didn't happen. I guess he bought fireworks or something, or maybe he's too early on the fireworks stand or something. I don't know. He's getting mad about fireworks that aren't even happening.
Fucking duds!
It does like this like burn wipe across the stars, and then that turns into a portal. It kind of looks cool until you like look at it for too long. You're like, that looks like shit. And then a tesseract forms for some reason. It's like a square, like the cube, but a cube within a cube, and then like it's connected and it's like going in. For some reason that's falling towards Earth, and then it turns into a phoenix, and then it crashes like across like the sky. And she notices like his neck is all gross and like full of pus and sores. And
what happened to you?
The Tesseracts.
Then he gets mad and tries to kiss her.
Are you really that superficial? Maybe you're just a cock tease.
Yeah, it's all just looks with you bitches and blah, 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 blah. And like gets really mad and like starts like, like veins all over his face and shit. And it's very concerning.
Here's me being calm.
Holy shit.
Then more things start coming out of the sky. I don't know. Is he calling down the Tesseracts? Is that what's happening? They just start pummeling the fucking sky and shit. And he's like, trying to kiss her and shit. And then he pushes her to the ground and she falls on the mask and a bit of the mask jams into her fucking skull and she's dead. She's dead again. Now we know how she's dead when she's, been like haunting the other Iraq Jack guy. Iraq Jack is literally in a jail cell, and Dead Sam shows up, hands him that fucking glowing blue feather for some stupid ass reason, and then opens up the jail cell. He doesn't use it to open up the jail cell. You should think, okay, like use it as like a lockpick or something, like give it some function. Nope.
Only you can save the universe.
Cuts to Randy at the motel, going like, hey, where are you okay? What's going on? There's fucking meteors falling out of the goddamn sky. What the hell's happening?
Sam!
Then he just easily finds the picnic spot they're at. I guess it's the makeout tree or whatever the hell's going on. Randy like picks up, Dead Sam. It goes to walk away, locks eyes with Iraq Jack. They don't say anything. He walks away. Again, this is all in montage with the song playing over it. Iraq Jack picks up the mask, puts it on, looks up at the sky. Rewind time. Back to the first day again, where he's up on top of the water tower, or on top of the windmill, excuse me. Looks up, sees the meteorite coming down towards him. He's like, yay, yay, yay. Boom, takes himself out. She wakes up, and then it cuts to the next day with Frank, the motel guy, and the creepy cop. They're examining the impact, and Frank's like, oh man, I can't sell that meteorite. Now he won't sell it to Jeremy anymore, although he gives it to the motel guy for some reason.
What kind of a man do you think I am to try to make a buck off another man's death?
Jeremy shows up to the crash site. Sam, Corey, and Randy are walking away, and all Sam says is, so when does that bus show up? Oh, are you leaving? Yeah. All right.
How often does that bus come? Why? I'm leaving? What?
Sam goes, gets her fucking suitcase, change of clothes. They hug she hugs her goodbyes with Corey.
We're still perfect. Immaculate.
She's like, well, I'm just going to go home back to Virginia. I guess try to like put her life back together.
Where are you going to go?
Virginia.
What's that like?
Sucks.
The rest of this is all one montage. The dog tags are found of Iraq Jack, again unburnt, even though it got hit by a fucking meteorite. The motel guy is now starting to scratch himself or whatever because he has the meteor. Then it cuts to Trudy praying in the theater with the God's grace glowing around her, having her nice fucking happy vision of getting away with kidnapping kids. Cuts to the preacher outside who pricks his finger on a rose and looks up at the sky. The dead kid, literally cuts to the fucking dead kid who's in the goddamn cave and the mine shaft, still alive with a dog collar around his fucking neck because that way in case she opens the gate, he can't fucking run out. He's still chained up and reaches out towards the audience. You're like, hey, help me. And I'm like, I'd love to. I get it. With the time travel thing, it wouldn't like reset, but at least if like Trudy had been fucking arrested, maybe you didn't find the kid alive, sure, but just to make like the other time loop happen, the kid didn't need to be dead anymore.
I think you did it.
He could have like completely lived. Jeremy is sitting at the diner and he's making a Frank mask out of vegetables. Looks up at the sky. I guess they're showing that like the meteorite thing still might happen. Everybody kind of has that weird vision of like that it's coming down. But I guess he's now going to be searching. Maybe he'll be like the living receiver. Which again, the living receiver didn't wear the fucking Frank mask. Donnie never wore the goddamn mask. And Sam gets on a bus. Randy's outside, just, trying to be cool about it. We should have had one more scene with Randy. Just saying, it would have like wrapped things up a little bit nicer. Or she could have been like, hey, your brother's over here. But like, granted, she didn't know anything because she was dead. She was manipulated dead. But like, there could have been something better there. And Sam draws a heart on a window. Fucking end. That's it.
You can go suck a fuck.
Oh, please tell me, Elizabeth, how exactly does one suck a fuck?
So one more time with this nonsense.
You want me to tell you?
Please tell me.
So in the first one, you got Donnie, who originally, everybody's alive here. And then Donnie dies. And then everything else is fixed. That's basically the movie. Donnie dies, everybody's fine. Does it make sense? Fuck no. Is it a good movie? Absolutely. It's wonderful. It's all about like determinism and like what is fate, and if you could see your fate, could you change it? If you could, well, in his case, he couldn't because he's traveling within God's channel because the things that come out of him are within like God's abyss portals or whatever the fuck they are, tendrils. The whole entire movie centers around him and this mysterious character who is like as a 6-foot guy in a bunny suit for some reason. Sure, you get like who he is, but he's never met him like up until that point.
Why are you wearing that stupid bunny suit?
You first meet him at the theater when you actually see his face for the first time, and then you really only see him until like the end part.
Why are you wearing that stupid man suit?
It's not until much later in the movie that you find out that it's his sister's boyfriend, and he's the reason, like who this bunny character is.
What were you guys doing in the middle of the road, huh? What are you thinking?
But at the end of his timeline, before the plane crash happens, Donnie is alive, his girlfriend is dead, Frank is dead, and his mom and sister are dying in a plane crash. Donnie dies, solves all that problem. The second movie, Donnie as Darko, happens in 1995. There's only 4 days left, 17 hours, 26 minutes, and 31 seconds. It all centers around a meteor strike. It happens in 1995, 7 years later. You would think, oh, it's another one of those stories. No, it's actually told basically what happens if you saw Donnie Darko. Picture Donnie Darko, but it happens from Frank's perspective. There's no mystery in this movie whatsoever, except for how the hell are you going to wrap this thing up? Nobody gets any goddamn justice in this movie. At least in this one, there's a bit of justice. And then when the timeline resets, then it's like, okay, cool. Like, they have a visual reaction on screen that you're like, oh, okay, they actually feel something.
Going nowhere.
There's 2 separate timelines that happen. I know technically this timeline juts to here, but then this thing happens and then it juts into this one and then it loops back around to this one, which then I think shouldn't have ever happened. It should have just continued with this one, but I think it creates a third timeline, which only ends and then it wraps around itself.
Anus!
Oh, and then the whole thing, like how you're going to actually fill out the movie as well as this one is, you have to do like another time loop. So like this entire movie solves fucking nothing. I apologize for getting mad. Granted, if you've never seen this movie, I do recommend like going to see it and like so you can figure out what the fuck I'm trying to say. I don't recommend this movie whatsoever. I mean, it's a 5 movie tops, maybe 5.5. Certain scenes look really, really fucking good, but other than that, for the overall cinematography, honestly, it looks good. Like it's got decent framing. Like the edit is kind of shit. Overall, it looks decent, and I like the way a lot of it looks. The effects are fine. They're kind of standard. I mean, it's 2009. You could do a little bit better than like, cheap ass, Stargate, wormholes or whatever. I mean, that's coming from this guy. I love Stargate.
The Satesh guard's nose drips.
The cinematography, basically, I gave it a high B. For the effects, B-. Fuck that. The characters are not developed enough at all. I did not like, a lot of like the characterizations. They're like really too one-sided. Or when the case of like, Sam, she's in the movie, but she's like not there. I mean, she's supposed to be playing the manipulated dead, but even Gretchen was fucking more there. And she's not the manipulated dead, it's Frank. But overall, I think like the acting is, it's decent for what it is. It's a B- on overall for that. The plot, which rewinds 2 times, it doesn't need to. Even if it did rewind 2 times, it didn't need to go down that third timeline where we don't solve the kid problem at all. I mean, she finds the key or whatever, but it should have been done better. And you know what I'm saying? Like, it should have been like, okay, she's up top. Oh, Corey's down here. She knows where, like, she could be the one, like, to know where the kid is. So you could, like, find the kid a lot easier. That would definitely help. Nobody learns anything. Just turns out to not matter in the end, I guess, kind of what like the original one does, but like in a slightly better tone. That absolute C. The music, I don't think it fits. Like the last song is pretty good, but that's the Cocteau Twins. They're pretty good. It's too much fucking montage crap. Again, I know that's the original movie, but it does. The cinematography on that one is much, much better, and it had a much clearer vision of what it wanted. So overall, 5.5. The living receiver does not have to die. Donnie did not have to die, but because he thought, especially with his like possibly burdening schizophrenia, thought he needed to. That was like that he was convinced of that. If he did anything else in that life, if he had like gotten out of the way, things would happen the exact same way again, and he would have been stuck in a loop. So in order to save everybody, he took himself out of the equation, even though that creates a whole new level of problems. What's my lesson? Because the philosophy of time travel exists, Roberta Sparrow has clearly gone through that whole thing and understands what it is. So she had to go through a tangential universe in order for her to be a nun and then become, this person who wrote this thing, because this phenomenon happened to her, which sure gives it that whole like, God angle, which I'm fine with. But she didn't die. And she was clearly a living receiver, like waiting on something to happen, waiting for like the loop to, be finished, which is why she keeps going towards the mailbox. And then at the end of the movie, you get the letter that she clearly never gets.
Dear Roberta Sparrow, sometimes I'm afraid that you'll tell me that this is not a work of fiction.
Why Rack Jack didn't need to die. He didn't need to be blamed for every goddamn problem in the fucking world, especially in that shithole town. I'll show you how. It's overly complicated for no fucking reason. I've seen way worse movies.
Look, you know your business, but if you just move the door, you could kill me.
But then again, I can find like good things in Manos: The Hands of Fate. So my rating scale is skewed to me. This movie's like, like 5. This movie's like a 9 for me. Like this. I mean, sure, that has some like problems with like the time travel elements, but everything else in that movie just fucking works. Anyway, I'm rambling.
You should check your backpack. This guy's up to steal shit.
Yeah.
It's been a long ass video. I apologize. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. Please be safe out there, and I'll see you beautiful, beautiful people in the next one. Whenever that is, I have no idea. Do you ever? I apologize for not being consistent, but there's one thing I'll never apologize for is not being consistent. Wait a minute. Later.